Hello, I'm Old Craft Man. Welcome to Old Steady Craft Man. Alright. Hello and welcome to the Craft Man Show. My name is your host, the Craft Man. In today's video, do you have a camera? Do you set your camera always on automatic? Like that right there. Would you like to give creator professional results with your camera? That little manual, that little end right there, does that intimidate you? It ought not to. Alright, this video going to be all about breaking down, controlling your camera to get the creative results that you so desire in your heart. Ain't nothing to be afraid of. This video going to be so boring that randomly and unexpectedly, I'm just going to drop in on y'all with some music and just be like that right there. I apologize about all this dust and stuff on the camera right here, you know. And the philosophy, the principle in this video is going to apply. It don't matter if you have a Canon, a Nikon, Fujifilm, a Hasselblad. It doesn't matter what kind of camera that you have. It all breaks down to the basic, same old principles of exposure. And there's a few components that make up exposure, but we're going to focus right now on the mainless two ones that it is: shutter, and aperture. Alright. And look, let me go ahead and just say this right now. Craftman is trying to be educational, illustrative purposes right now. You do not want to just leave your camera opened up like that where dust can get down into it, you know. But anyway, I'm going to show you about the shutter. Alright, so you got an image that's coming out the back of this lens. Light travels through your lens, comes through here, and goes into your camera. And right there where that plane is, right there, see that little line with a circle with a line? That's where your sensor is, right in line with that. On an old film camera, that normally would be where the film is. You have a roll of film over here, and then you wind it, and another piece of film comes over. The shutter, think of it as the thing that is either shut or it ain't shut. It's a shutter. Now, I've got it in manual mode, which means I can tell the camera how long to open and close that shutter. Alright, so right now, the shutter is going to be 1/something normally, you know. So that is 1/100th of a second right there. And this how long that is. Alright, let's say we go down to 1 to 1/4 of a second. Alright, 1/4. See that? And that just lets in a lot more light, doesn't it? Alright. So that's why we're looking at the shutter speed right there. And we're not paying attention to none of this other information right here just yet, okay? So we know if we go way down now. That means it's letting in more light in because it stay open. Chop. Going to normally result in a bright picture. But on the other end of things, let's say we go all the way. Let's go to 1/1000th of a second. Let's see what that looks like. That just open and close real quick, alright. So all the shutter is literally just the mechanical open and closing action. There's either exposing your film, your sensor to light. If it ain't doing that, then it's shut. It's closed, you know what I'm saying? Now technically, that piece way back in there is the shutter. But wait a second, Craig, man, my camera ain't got no physical shutter. It don't make a ch-ch sound. Well, nowadays we do have many cameras that just use a digital shutter. But it's the same principle. It's either letting photons in or it's not. It can do it fast or it can do it slow. So the longer the shutter is open, the more light comes in, the brighter your image. The faster the shutter, the much less light is coming in, the darker your image. Alright. Outside, taking picture outside on a bright day, then you might need to use a really fast shutter. Alright. But then you go inside in your house, and maybe a dimly lit up enough, well, then you might need to come down around there somewhere, or maybe even lower, you know what I'm saying? Now the catch-22 is, the slower the shutter speed, the more chance of motion blur. See my glove, how blurry it is right there? That's because I'm using, on this camera, a very slow shutter, 1/48th of a second. All right. If you're doing handheld, that right there going to be blurred. That's going to be blurred. That's going to be somewhat blurry. All right. That's probably pushing it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Craftman, baby, you losing me. I need to see what the picture look like, Craftman. You talking about how this 1/100th of a second. All right, then. We done came outside. This is what I'm looking at on my video camera. The sky is blue, saturated, looks nice. All right, looks good. Let's see if we can capture a still image of this on my regular camera right there. On most cameras, if you go ahead and push your shutter halfway down, I'm just pushing the shutter halfway. All right, that's all the way right there. That's all the way. I'm going halfway. And that's just a light meter. That's telling you about where you at. So if you push your shutter down halfway, all right, that's saying that we overexposed, all right? It really needs to be down there by that zero right in the middle. All right, that tells me that if I take this picture right now, it's going to be overexposed. Look at the, oh, bright. See how as I start to raise that number, make a faster shutter, see how that calm down? So if I'm looking at the little light meter, see how that goes all the way? Now see, that's too dark right there. I bring it back up right there. Right about there. It should be just about right, see that? So if I lower down the shutter, it gets brighter. All right. But if I crank up the shutter, watch what happens. Nah, then. Craftman, what about ISO? You ain't talking. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That's going to factor in just a little bit. We worried about shutter, and we worried about aperture. Aperture. All right. And think of aperture like the iris right here. All right, that's all it is. All right, aperture right there. Now this right here is an old lens. It's a 50 millimeter. It's a 1 and 1.4. That 1.4 is the biggest open aperture that this lens will do. Not to get too complicated, but when the aperture is wide open, this lens maximum is 1.4. Think of shutter as time. All right, you know, 1/100th of a second, 1/1000th of a second, real fast. Down on the low end, 1/4 of a second, real slow. Shutter is time. Think about that. Now aperture is expressed completely different, all right? And it's confusing because the lower the number, the bigger the aperture, all right? So if I got it wide open like that, then it's a low number. See that diamond right there, point? 1.4, that's wide open. But look, if I go like the 2, 2.8, 4, 5.6, 8, 11, that's all aperture values right there, okay? And if I go all the way to 16 right there, look how tiny that is. That's almost closed, you see that? Now you probably don't have a lens like this old school manual lens, you know. Probably what you got is something closer to this that came with your camera, okay? There's no aperture on this control. It's just controlled by the camera. See them numbers I was telling y'all about? That's the aperture number, the f-stop, 3.5. I keep going, it don't go any bigger than 3.5. How come that is? Well, that's because this lens only goes to 3.5. See that? Remember, this lens is a 1.4. That's the widest open aperture that it can do. This lens only can go to 3.5. That's the widest open aperture that it can do. But Craftman, it's got 2 aperture numbers on it. Well, on most of your zoom lenses, all that means is that 3.5 is the widest open aperture when you zoom back. But when you zoom in like that, it's going to automatically stop it down to 5.6, all right? Craftman, what you mean stopping it down? Well, that right there is stopping it down. That's making your aperture smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That's stopping it down right there. When somebody said they stopping it down, they making the f-stops go smaller and smaller and smaller. See that? F5.6, discombobulated shutter aperture myth. I'm about to unsubscribe from all this. We can control just these two things right here and get completely different pictures, alright? Now the thing about using too high of an aperture, and what I mean is a high aperture number, which means a tiny little hole like that right there, would mean that you cannot do selective focusing. We focus on the background characters, and now we focus on earthworm gems. See that? The bigger open your aperture is, the more light you let in, but also the more narrow is the window of things in focus, alright? But let's stop it down a little bit. Stopping it down, just remember, is that stopping it down, alright? But as I stop it down, remember that I've got to do something else. I got to lower my shutter speed, do things to compensate for that, alright? So let me show you what it might look like if I go all the way close with it. And then look at that, we got earthworm gem and all the robots in focus, pretty much in focus. Look at that. That's crazy. How did we accomplish that? If you tighten up on your aperture, close it down, such a little bit of light's coming in, and a bigger area of things is in focus, alright? But that means your picture is darker. Craftman was able to accomplish this by raising the ISO. The ISO, think of that as the sensitivity. And that stands for International Standards Organization. Some of y'all might be old enough to remember that back when you was getting ready to go to the beach and you got your film camera. Then you might go to the drugstore, somebody on the way there, and you will get you some film, and you might get the 200 ISO, 100 ISO. But then let's say you're getting ready to go to a wedding reception, that they might not have a whole lot of light. Then you might get you a 600, 800 ISO. They used to have different types of films, depending on what you're getting ready to do. Outdoor low number, indoor high number ISO. On digital camera, you still have ISO, and that approximates that sensitivity, but it's the sensitivity of your sensor. And look, hang with me. Now, I'm not trying to confuse things, but really, once you wrap your mind around these concepts, you can be confident enough that you can just say right here, all right, I'm ready to take my photo, by manipulating the shutter. Alright, you can manipulate the aperture on your lens, and then now we talking about the ISO right there. Okay, let me just disclaim something real quick. You do not want to rely on ISO for your overall exposure. So to compensate for when I stop it down and get that dark image, I need to bring up the brightness again. I could lower the shutter way down, but I'm already 1/48 of a second, and that's why I like to keep it for my video. So then my third thing that I look at is ISO, alright? So I only look at ISO once you have done everything that you can with your shutter and your aperture. If I know that I'm going to be indoor, they ain't got a lot of light, maybe 800, it gets a little bit noisy when you go above that. Crap, man, what you mean noisy? Look, back in the film days, if you took a picture that was underexposed, or maybe you used the real high ISO film, that picture might look grainy, alright? Personally, I like some grain up in my photo, but on modern digital camera, there's not so much grain, it's more like digital noise, and it does not look as good. I'm going to show you some examples of that. I'm going to record some footage right here so we can see what is the real impact of that ISO. I'm going to raise the ISO real high, and then I'm going to stop it down. Alright. And then let's review that footage. Look at all that noise and things in it. That's what I'm talking about the digital noise. in general, but not as pleasant as film grain. Now you want to avoid it. You avoid it by keeping the ISO low as it can do. Alright. And instead focusing on your aperture and your shutter. Alright. In my opinion, you want to be somewhere in the middle, if not slightly underexposed. Craftsman, what? Well, because you can take that picture into Photoshop and bring out some of them details. Versus if you did that right there, if that's just our white pixels, then it's gone, you know. So if you're taking pictures of clouds and things, and you need to get the detail of the cloud design, pay attention to your exposure. Much better to have an underexposed picture than an overexposed picture, alright? For real. Now let's say that we got some action that we trying to capture and we want to freeze it, like we want to freeze frame that action to where it ain't blurry, you know what I'm saying? And let's see what we got there. Alright, see how blurry that is right there? Them little arm were in the middle of moving. Alright, right as we took that picture. And we don't want that. Let's say for action pictures, we want to have that free frame action. So what we can do is increase the shutter speed. Alright. But then we're gonna have to do something else, like open up the aperture. Alright. Now let's see what it looks like. Alright, look at that arm at the. See how fro ain't got no motion blurs around it. It just free frame that thing. That's that fast shutter right there. Alright. Alright, look how blurry that is right there. 1/48 of a second. Alright. 1/1000th of a second. Look at this. See that? Hopefully somebody finds it useful. Craftsman, I want to take one of them pictures where my subject is in focus, but everything else is blurry, you know. And if I got some little shiny object, they got some little bokehs and things. See that bokeh? See how that right there? But Craftsman, I ain't got one of them f1.4 lenses like you do, baby. How can I do that? I have a really shallow depth of field lens. And so that means I can really get up and get some creative focusing going. See that? Let's say that we want to get a similar result using a little zoom lens that might come with your camera. So I'm going to take this lens off. So now we got the zoom lens on the camera. And as a reminder, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Close as we can do. I'm going to bring the whole camera, tripod, everything back. And now we're going to zoom in on it. Alright, then we're going to focus it. So something like that right now. And I had to raise the ISO a little bit, but that's alright. Didn't have to raise it too much. Just by positioning the camera differently, you got some whole different looks to this. Position your camera, zoom in, because just by changing your field of view, your lens, different things, your aperture, you can get all kinds of different results. Look at that right there, see? Craftsman, that's crazy. Now, if you don't want to worry about setting both aperture and shutter, then you can do halfway. You can set on AV, and that's aperture value, aka aperture priority. And you telling the camera, all right, camera, I'm going to set the aperture. And you change the aperture yourself manually. And then the camera is going to adjust the shutter for you. All right, aperture priority. Other thing you can do is put it on shutter priority. On Canon cameras or TV, that means time value. But it just means shutter priority. You tell the camera, I'm going to change the shutter. I don't ever want it to be less than 1/100. And then the camera, as you take picture, I'm holding it halfway down right there. I move it around, see? And then the camera says, all right. Then to get it exposed right in the middle, it needs to be 5.6. Point over there. It needs to be 5.0. Point it that way, it might be 3.5. See that? It's going to adjust that for you as necessary to get the good exposure, alright? And then your camera might be different. If you don't have a Canon, instead of TV, it might say F. Instead of AV, it might just say A. That P right there, that's program mode. And that's just there so that you don't ever have to worry about it. One other thing that we can do, and this is something Craftman uses every single time I take my camera outside when I'm doing video work, is I use me a variable neutral density filter right there. I can turn it and see how, look how dark that gets right there. And I can make it brighter right there. Since I like to leave my camera on 1/48th of a second, which is a real slow shutter, and oftentimes I like to use a relatively open aperture. If I take the camera outside under these conditions, it's going to be bright, blown out. That's why I stick the thing on the front of it. Just in an instant right there, I can control the image brightness. Another little thing I want to talk to you about is bulb exposure. What this does is allows you to keep the shutter open for just a crazy amount of time. All the way down. That means that when you push that shutter release, it's just going to stay open the whole time until you let go of it. I took the card out the camera. But anyway, Craftman, what is that good for? Well, a bulb exposure is good if you outside on a dark night, but a clear sky, stars are shining bright, and you can put your camera on a tripod. The more still you keep it, the better, because it's going to be a tendency while you holding up. You know, even if it's on a tripod, it's going to move a little bit. The best thing you can do is to hook up your shutter release right there. See that? And you go, and your camera ain't shaking over there like that right there. Alright? Them nighttime photons going to be coming up on and bid on your picture. Craftman, you didn't even talk about white balance and thing. Alright, real quick. You should always set your white balance, alright? If you outside, make it daylight. If you inside, depending on what kind of lights, whether it's tungsten or fluorescent. Can you see how the color changes depending on the white balance? The dangerous thing about using auto is that as you move your camera around, your pictures or your footage is going to change as the camera thinks that it needs to adjust that white balance. So you might pan it over here and your uncle might be looking a little bit red shade, and you might move it over there. Your cousin might be having a little bit yellowish look too. The way I do white balance before every episode is I just take me a piece of paper and take a picture of that right there and set that as my manual white balance. I like to get my new white balance every episode, except for when I don't do it, you know, because I forget to. Because color accuracy, color rendition is very important. This camera right here, battery almost up, look at that. So I guess I need to wrap up the episode, I don't know, maybe. It'll make me feel happy. My mustache hair gets in my mouth. You need to shave that mouth. Let me ask you this. This been bothering me for a long time. If you have a landline telephone, but you live in a mobile home, do you really have a mobile phone? That's just something been on my mind. I love y'all and keep steady crafting. It can be overwhelming at first when you get into cameras, you know. And so what ends up happening, Most people just put their camera in automatic and they go with it. But you're missing out on a whole world of creative possibility if you overlook your camera manual functions. We're going to unleash the photographers within you. All right.